The city still smelled of smoke. Jaime Lannister reined in as he reached the crest of Aegon's high hill, the gold and scarlet cloak hanging from his shoulders stirring in the warm breeze rolling up from the river. Below, King's Landing sprawled like some great wounded beast, its stone and timber and teeming streets crouched beneath the red keep. The scars of old fires cut black lines through the city's pale clutter of rooftops. Here and there, he could see the gaps where a house had gone and nothing yet had replaced it, only rubble and scaffolds and the raw bones of half-finished walls. He remembered the last time this city had been on the edge of burning. "You're quiet," Ser Adam Marbrand said beside him. The commander of the Lannister Outriders had dust in his red hair and sweat in his beard. "Is it the heat or the sight?" Jaime's golden hand tightened against the reins. It still felt wrong, the weight of the thing, the way it caught the sun as though his shame was meant to glitter. "I've seen worse sights," he said. "I made worse sights." Adam glanced at him sidelong, wary of how far to go. Some men had learned never to mention the Mad King in Jaime's presence. Others had never learned at all and were already dead for it or gone back west. "Still," Adam said, "it's good to be home." Jaime looked at the Red Keep. "Home," he echoed, and the word tasted like iron on his tongue. They rode through the city to fanfare and laughter. Lannister men in crimson cloaks and lion-crested helms, trumpets blaring, banners streaming above them. Small folk pressed in, craning for a glimpse of the Kingslayer, the Lord Commander, the Queen's twin. He caught snatches of their voices. "That's him, look, the one with the golden hand. Gods, he's handsome as they say. Kingslayer, they call him. He saved us from Stannis, you blind fool. Show some thanks." The words slid past like rain against armor. Jaime kept his eyes ahead. He saw the way certain mouths tightened when they spat the name Kingslayer. Others looked at him with open admiration, or hunger, or something like fear. The city was a mirror with 100,000 faces, and they all showed him something different. The gates of the Red Keep yawned before them, iron and oak and implication. Jaime left Adam to see to the men and stabled Honor himself, the big gray snorting as Jaime stroked his neck with his left hand. "Rest, old boy," he murmured, pressing his brow briefly to the horses. "If anyone deserves it, you do." The stables smelled of hay and dung and warm horseflesh. A stable boy stood staring at the golden hand as if it might reach for him on its own. "Careful with him," Jaime said, not unkindly. "He likes apples, but he'll take your fingers with them if you're slow." The boy nodded rapidly. "Why, yes, sir. Not sir. Lord Commander," Jaime corrected, more by habit than pride. The title still felt foreign, like armor that did not quite fit. He left the stables and climbed the familiar steps toward the inner yard, his heart beating harder the higher he went. Cersei is here. The thought quickened his pace and slowed it at once, pulling him between want and dread. He had not seen her since he rode for the Riverlands. He had left her furious, cornered, and grieving the loss of their father's cold iron certainty. He had written to her from Riverrun, a strained letter with too many words left unsaid. No ravens had come in reply. She had always been the other half of him, but of late he had begun to feel her like a shadow that moved in ways he did not recognize. In the throne room, they knelt. News traveled faster than horses in the Red Keep. By the time Jaime stepped into the vast, echoing hall, men and women were already gathered. Courtiers in silk and velvet, guards in Lannister red and cloaks of white, scribes, servants, petty lords clutching their hats. At the far end, upon the iron throne, Tommen sat very straight, his feet barely touching the floor, golden hair catching the light from the high windows. Cersei stood beside him. Jaime's breath caught. For half a heartbeat, all he saw was her. She wore black, the color of grief, though there was nothing soft about it. The gown clung to her like polished onyx, high at the throat, sleeves tight to her wrists. Her hair, shorn short once in disgrace, had grown out into a golden crown that framed her sharp cheekbones. Her green eyes, when they found his across the distance, flared with something fierce and unreadable. "There you are," her gaze said. "There you are," he answered in silence. A herald's voice rang out. "Lord Commander Jaime Lannister, returned to the capital by the grace of the king." The words seemed to fall from a great height, clattering over the rusted blades of the throne. Jaime walked forward, white cloak trailing behind him. The king's guard fell in around him, 6 men in white enamel and steel. Boros Blunt, old and soft-eyed. Meryn Trant, watchful and cruel. Balon Swan, his face as calm as river stone. Loras Tyrell, pale from his imprisonment and still stiff in his movements. Osmond Kettleblack, whose smile never touched his eyes. And Ser Robert Strong, mute mountain of unnatural stillness. "My brothers," Jaime thought, and almost laughed. He knelt before the boy on the throne, the metal fingers of his right hand clinking against his knee. "Your Grace." Tommen's voice was thin, trying for strength. "Rise, Lord Commander. We are glad of your return." Jaime did, and when he straightened, Cersei stepped forward. For the gathered court, she laid one hand delicately on his arm and kissed his cheek, a chaste, queenly gesture. To him, the press of her lips on his skin was a blaze of memory. Stolen kisses in the shadows of Casterly Rock, the scent of her hair like summer wheat, the weight of a shared secret heavy between them. "Brother," she said, and her voice was warm enough to fool the hall. "How the city has missed its lion. For the city's sack. I hope it managed without," Jaime said lightly, but his eyes searched hers. "Look at me. Tell me what you've become." Her smile did not reach her gaze. "We will speak later," Cersei murmured, the words for him alone. "There is much to discuss. There was always much to discuss. Wars and alliances and enemies and ghosts. Their father's death, a bolt through his belly on the privy. Tyrion's escape, the stain of it all." Jaime stood beside the throne as proceedings continued, the king's court turning in slow, tedious circles. Petitioners came forward with disputes over land, with pleas for justice, with complaints about the faith's growing boldness. The High Sparrow's name was on every lip, even when unspoken. The man had made himself a power in the city with bare feet and sermons, and Cersei had thought she could use him. She had been wrong. He watched Tommen, his son, no, his nephew, listened intently, fumbling at times, gaining ground at others. Tommen's eyes flicked often to his mother, seeking subtle signals in the tilt of her head, the flicker of an eyebrow. Cersei guided him with small gestures. A nod, the barest shake, a hand on his arm to soothe or restrain. It was also visible once you chose to see it. Jaime did not speak unless addressed. He kept his jaw slack and his gaze hooded in a way that made men underestimate him. Meanwhile, in some colder, harder place inside, he measured every motion Cersei made, every edge in her tone. "She is coiled," he thought, "tighter than when I left, tighter than when Joff died, tighter even than when father's body lay cold." It wasn't just grief. There was something else, something flint-like and brittle, a resolve that did not bend toward wisdom. "You are frowning," a voice murmured at his right. Jaime turned his head slightly. Lady Margaery Tyrell sat a little below the throne, close enough to lean in and be heard. Her gown was a rose garden in silk, her smile practiced to perfection, but her eyes were quick and clever. "Am I?" he said. "It does not suit you, Lord Commander. The court expects you to be pleased to return to the peace your family has forged." "My family does many things," Jaime said. "Peace is occasionally among them." Her lips curved. "You do not sound grateful." "Grateful men are rarely as useful as angry ones," Jaime replied. "Your grandmother taught me that, I think." Margaery's gaze flicked toward Cersei and back. "My grandmother says a great many things. I've noticed. Will you stay in the city now that business in the Riverlands is done?" she asked lightly. The question was harmless on its face, but Jaime saw the calculation behind it. The Tyrells had come to court drunk on their own cleverness and had found the faith more thorny than they liked. A Lannister sword was still a Lannister sword, even in a hand of gold. "I imagine I will," Jaime said. "The king has need of his guards. The king has need of many things, Marjorie murmured, so softly he almost doubted he'd heard it. Cersei's voice cut across their quiet conversation. Jaime, walk with me. The words fell like a command brushed in velvet. Court dispersed around them like a receding tide as Cersei led him out of the throne room, up familiar corridors, past tapestries that smelled faintly of dust and old smoke. Jaime fell into step beside her, his hand resting on the pommel of his sword. Not here, she said without looking at him. Too many ears. Come. She took him to their old place. The tower room was high and narrow, the stone walls thick, the only light a slant of late afternoon sun through an arched window. Once, long ago, they had tumbled into bed here, laughing and breathless, tasting the forbidden and thinking themselves gods. Now the bed was empty, its coverlet perfectly smooth. A jug of wine and 2 cups waited on the small table. The air was still heavy with memories. Cersei poured without asking, filling 1 cup full and the other halfway. She handed Jaime the half-full cup, as she always had. He took it with his left hand, the golden fingers of the right brushing the rim. You look tired, she said. You look different, he answered. She smiled, but it was only a baring of teeth. Life has a way of changing us. Death more so, Jaime said. I am sorry I wasn't here when... Don't, she snapped. Do not say you are sorry. You left me, father dead, our enemies circling, and you rode off to play at honor in the Riverlands. I went to keep us from fighting the Tullus and the Freys at once, he said. You were the one who told me we needed Riverrun. I needed you here. Her voice broke on the word, sharp and fierce. Instead, I had to deal with that barefoot fanatic and his flock alone. Do you know what it is to be marched through my own city naked, Jaime? To have them spit on me, to have them laugh. Her hand tightened around her cup until he thought it might shatter. To hear them chant whore, sinner, queen of nothing. Jaime swallowed. He had heard tales, of course. Even in the Riverlands, the story of Cersei's walk had flown on swift wings. He had imagined it, against his will. Cersei, proud and golden, stripped and shorn, stumbling through the streets while the small folk jeered. The image twisted something hot and ugly in his chest. If I had been here, he began. If you had been here, they would have taken you as well, she cut in. The faith cares nothing for names. They would have dragged you through the streets and made a spectacle of you, too. Better you were away. Someone had to remain untarnished. Untarnished. Jaime looked down at the gleam of his golden hand. Is that what I am? You are what I need you to be, Cersei said. You always have been. There it was, the old pull of her, the way she wrapped need and love and demand into one unholy braid. He had bled for her, lied for her, killed for her. He had been the sword she wielded without ever stepping onto a battlefield. What do you nay? Deem me to be now? He asked carefully. Her gaze sharpened. A Lannister. I have rarely been anything else. A Lannister who knows his enemies, she said. The Tyrells, the Sparrows, half the court. They all smile and bow while they sharpen their knives. Then perhaps we should stop giving them reasons to use them, Jaime said. Leaving a king's murder and your own adultery to the judgment of priests was not, one of your finer strategies. Her eyes flashed. I did what I had to do. I thought I was rid of Marjorie, of Loras, of that simpering little rose-tangled family. I was wrong. They turned the faith against me. You armed the faith, Jaime reminded her, heat rising despite himself. You put swords in the hands of men who only needed an excuse to judge you. I will not be judged, she hissed. Not by them, not by anyone. She turned away, pacing toward the window. They think me weak, shamed. A queen in name only, at the mercy of barefoot zealots and simpering crush victims. She paused, her hands braced on the stone. They forget that I am Tywin Lannister's daughter. Tywin Lannister's daughter did not walk naked through the streets, Jaime said softly. That was Cersei. She stiffened. Slowly, she turned back. And Cersei will not forget, she said, nor forgive. He had seen that look before, once in a different king. Ares had stared at the city with that same fever brightness, seeing not walls and streets and people but kindling. "Cersei," Jaime said carefully, setting his cup aside, "what are you planning?" She watched him for a long moment. Then, as if deciding something, she crossed the room and drew a small iron key from a pocket sewn into her sleeve. Jaime recognized it. Ares had had a dozen like it, each to a different door. The sight made his stomach twist. "Walk with me," she said. They went down instead of up, through corridors that grew narrower and darker the deeper they descended. Torches flickered on the walls, smoke smearing the stones. The air took on a faint, acrid tang that made the back of Jaime's throat itch. "Do you remember?" Cersei said as they walked. "When we were children, how Father used to send us away from the table when men talked of war? I remember you used to hide under the table instead," Jaime said. "You'd slip back in and listen anyway. And you would sit in your room and sharpen your wooden sword," Cersei said with a faint smile. "Always the dutiful knight. I heard things you never did." "I've heard things," Jaime said quietly, "that you never should." They turned a corner and came to a heavy oaken door banded in iron. 2 guards stood before it, their armor plain, their faces expressionless. These were not gold cloaks, nor household men he recognized. Jaime's hand went to his sword. "They are mine," Cersei said. "You may go," she told the guards. They stepped aside as one, not even exchanging glances. Jaime filed their faces away in his mind. Men like that did not belong in the Red Keep by accident. Cersei unlocked the door. A blast of cooler air washed over them, damp and close. Torchlight spilled down a steep flight of stairs, lost in darkness below. "After you," Cersei said, her eyes on him. Jaime descended. The steps were worn in the center, the stone slick under his boots. The farther they went, the stronger the smell became. Not just damp, but something else sharp and oily, like old lamps and something gone sour. His skin prickled. "It was Tyrion who first heard of it," Cersei said behind him. Her voice echoed off the stone. "He found the old alchemists and their secrets. Father let him play with his little jars and pots, never imagining how useful they might be." Jaime's breath caught. "Wildfire," he said. "Yes." There was satisfaction in her tone. "So much of it, Jaime, stored and forgotten since the days of the Mad King. When Stannis came, we used only a fraction. Cresson told the court that the rest had been destroyed. He lied. The Alchemists' Guild kept working all these years, quietly, faithfully, and now they answer to me." They reached the bottom of the stairs. The corridor opened into a vast, low-ceilinged vault. Rows upon rows of clay pots stretched into the gloom, their round bellies shining faintly in the torchlight. Each was sealed with a cork stoppered in wax, marked with the alchemist's sigils. Jaime felt as if he'd walked into a dragon's maw. A memory slammed into him with such force that his knees almost buckled. Ares, wild-eyed on the iron throne, his nails clawing at the wood. "Burn them all," the king had whispered over and over. Jaime had stood where he always stood, sword at his hip, white cloak heavy on his shoulders, while wildfire simmered beneath the city and pyromancers whispered of splendor. He had killed a king to stop this. "Why?" The word tore out of him. "Why are you showing me this?" "Because I trust you," Cersei said. "No," he rounded on her, the torchlight picking out every sharp line of her face. "You trust nothing and no one. You never have. Why me? Why this?" "Because you," she said calmly, "are the only one who knows what it is to make that choice." Silence stretched between them. Jaime's heart pounded in his ears so loudly, he almost missed the faint ticking of cooling stone. "What choice?" he managed. "Whether a city burns," Cersei said. "Whether our enemies burn. Whether we burn with them." She stepped past him, running her fingertips over the rough clay of a nearby jar. "The faith thinks itself secure in the great September. The Tyrells preen in their gardens. They laugh at me, they humiliate me, they threaten to take Tommen from me, to make him their puppet. Her hand tightened. I will not let them. If they gather in one place, if they make a show of judging us. She looked back at him, green eyes wild and bright. Then I will make a show of my own. No, Jaime said. No. You once saved the city from a mad king who would have burned it, Cersei said quietly. Now you have a chance to save it again, to save our son, our legacy. By becoming the very thing I killed? His voice rose. By burning thousands? Do you hear yourself? They are ants, she snapped. They crawl and bite and whisper. They would tear Tommen apart if we let them. I will not lose another child to their games. You talk of losing children, and yet you would light the pyre yourself, Jaime said. His throat felt tight. Damn the Tyrells and the sparrows. What of the people above? The bakers and the whores and the men who mend boots? Do they deserve to die because the High Sparrow hurt your pride? He hurt more than my pride, she said. He put his hands on our crown, on our future. Do not pretend at compassion now, Jaime. You have seen more war than I have. You know what it costs. I do, he said, and I know this. There is a difference between killing a man face to face with steel in your hand and burning a city full of screaming people who never had a chance to lift a sword. Aerys said they were all traitors. You are sounding more like him with every word. Her face went still. Careful, she said softly. Aerys trusted wildfire. Jaime went on, the words spilling now, dragged up from somewhere deep and raw. He trusted the pyromancers. He thought it would make him strong. He thought it would make him a god. In the end, he was just a man bleeding on the floor. I put my sword through his back while he raved about burning them all. I have lived half my life under the word that bought me. Kingslayer. He gestured around them, at the endless ranks of jars. Do you want them to call me Queenslayer next? If that is what it takes to save Tommen, Cersei said. Jaime stared at her. He had always known Cersei was ruthless. He had seen her orchestrate deaths with a smile, pull strings of rumor and threat until men danced to her tune. He had loved her anyway or because of it. They were lions, they had told each other, above the tedious scruples of lesser beasts. But this was something else. You would truly light it? He asked. You would kill them all? You would risk Tommen, yourself, the Red Keep, everything? The pyromancers assure me the fires can be guided, she said briskly. A cask placed just so, a spark at the right moment. The September, the surrounding streets, the Tyrell manse. And if they're wrong? Jaime demanded. If the fire goes wild? Wildfire does not listen, Cersei. It does not obey. It devours. That's why they called it wild. Aerys had jars under the city too. He thought he could control them. He thought. Do not say his name again in my presence, she snapped, sudden and fierce. I am not Aerys. No, he said slowly. You're worse. He never had children to lose. Her hand flew before he could stop it, the slap ringing off the stone. Jaime's head snapped to the side. He tasted blood where his teeth cut into his cheek. They stared at each other. You dare, she whispered, voice shaking. You dare compare me to that monster, after all I have endured. Our son was poisoned in his own wedding cup. Our daughter murdered on foreign soil. You left me. Father died. I was humiliated, betrayed, stripped of everything. And now you come back and speak to me of mercy. He wiped the blood from his lip with the back of his golden hand. Someone has to, he said. I am protecting our last child, she said. Tommen is all we have left. They will take him from us if we let them. The Tyrell girl wraps him around her little finger. The sparrow whispers in his ear. They will turn him against us, Jaime. Against me. Against you, Jaime echoed. Perhaps because you are planning to murder half the city. I will not let them take my son, she said, each word a stone. Whatever it costs. Even him, Jaime said quietly. For a heartbeat, he thought he saw it. The faint flicker of doubt behind her eyes, the crack in her certainty. Then it was gone, smoothed over, replaced with polished iron. "You are weak," she said. "You let that northern cow put ideas in your head. You let your stump become your conscience. You think yourself a knight out of some stupid song now, with honor and oaths that mean more to you than your own blood." "Brienne kept an oath when no one else would," Jaime said. "She reminded me that I once meant to be something better than a sword in someone else's hand. Is that what frightens you, Cersei? That I might choose something besides you for once?" A shadow crossed her face, something like hurt or rage or both. "There is no you without me," she hissed. "We were born together. We are the same. They tried to separate us, all of them, and look what came of it. Father dead, our children dead. Do you think you can stand alone? They will tear you apart." "Maybe," he said. "Maybe they will." Silence fell between them, thick as smoke. "When is it?" Jaime asked at last, his voice flat. Cersei studied him. "The trial," she said. "Soon. The High Sparrow will parade us in his September, thinking to break us before all the city. I have made arrangements for the trial by combat, but I no longer trust that old man not to change the rules again." So, her hand caressed the nearest jar. "Here we are. You plan to burn the September with them all inside," he said. "The Faith, the Tyrells, half the court, and us safe in the Red Keep," she said. "Watching the sky burn green, watching our enemies become ash. You, me, and Tommen. A city does not forget something like that," Jaime said. "You would rule bones and cinders." "Better to rule cinders than to be buried beneath them," she said simply. "She believes it," he thought. "She truly does." He felt very calm all at once, as if a wind had blown through him and carried off everything that was not stone. "Call it off," he said. Her eyes narrowed. "No, then I will," he said. Her laugh was sharp and disbelieving. "You? How? Will you go to the High Sparrow and confess? Tell him the queen you love is plotting to murder his flock? He would have my head and yours, and still he would cling to his power. He would use your confession as another sermon." "There are other ways," Jaime said. "You think you are the only one who can move pieces on a board. You don't understand what you're saying," she said. "You would betray me?" He looked at her, the face he had loved since they shared a womb. The face that had smiled at him in the torchlight beneath Casterly Rock. The face that had watched father die and had hardened into something new. "Don't make me," he said. For a moment, a single, trembling moment, he thought she might yield. That some remnant of the girl who had climbed trees with him, who had whispered of running away and living as commoners, might reach for his hand. Instead, Cersei straightened. "If you stand in my way," she said, her voice as cold as the darkest vault, "I will destroy you, Jaime. I swear it." He thought of the white cloak on his shoulders, of the book in the White Tower, its pages recording the deeds of every Kingsguard. Most of his entry was still blank. "Maybe that's what I deserve," he said, "but I will not let you burn them. I will not let you become him." He turned and started toward the stairs. "Jaime," she said. He stopped. "If you walk away from me now," Cersei said, "we are done. You will have no claim on me, no say in Tommen's life. I will tell him you deserted him. I will tell him you killed his father. You already did that, as I recall," he said without turning. "Only you put the blame on Tyrion." "Do not speak his name," she spat. "That little monster killed our father." "No," Jaime said softly, climbing the first step. "I did, when I opened his cell." Each step upward felt heavier than the last. The air grew warmer, less tainted with alchemist's sour breath. But Jaime could not shake the chill that had settled into his bones. On the landing above, he paused, leaning against the wall. "You know what you have to do." He remembered standing behind Aerys while the king's hands twitched on the arms of the throne. He remembered the taste of ash and fear. He remembered the moment his sword had slid between leather and bone, the hot rush of blood. Cersei's words pulsed in his skull. "If you stand in my way, I will destroy you." He climbed, slowly, in the direction of the light. That night he did not sleep. He sat in the white tower with the book open before him. The white of his cloak pooled on the bench like spilled milk. A candle flickered nearby, the wax puddling like melted flesh. Lord Commander Ser Jaime Lannister, he read. Beneath his name, few lines. Squire to Ser Arthur Dane, the sword of the morning. Knighted for valor on the stepstones. Raised to the Kingsguard at 17. Served as sworn brother to King Aerys II Targaryen. Murdered the king at the sack of King's Landing. Known throughout the realm as Kingslayer, there was room beneath for more. He dipped the quill in ink with his left hand and hovered over the page. What could he write? Saved the life of Brienne of Tarth. Kept his oath to Lady Catelyn Stark as best he could. Tried to be better than the name they gave him. None of it mattered. History would not record the truth. It would record what those in power wanted written. If I do nothing, he thought, there will be no pages left to fill. Just fire. Ser. He looked up sharply. It was Loras, pale and wan in his white armor. His once great beauty faded by months in the dungeons of the faith. Lord Commander, Loras said, correcting himself. The Queen requests your presence. Does she? Jaime said. He closed the book slowly. And what if the Lord Commander does not care to be requested at this hour? Loras shifted his weight, discomfort flickering across his face. She said it was urgent. Of course she did. Very well, Jaime said, rising. The cloak settled around him. To Loras, he said, you should be Abed. You're still recovering. I am fine, Loras said stiffly. Jaime studied him. This was the Knight of Flowers who had once moved like poetry on the tourney field, who had bested men twice his size. Now he carried himself with the brittle care of a man held together by pride alone. You're not fine, Jaime said, but you're stubborn. It's something we share. He passed him, pausing just long enough to murmur, if the Queen invites you anywhere alone, don't go. Loras blinked. Why? Because she is thinking of wildfire, Jaime said, and left him staring. Cersei did not summon him to their old tower room. She waited in her bedchamber, the one that had been the king's wife's for 100 years. The chamber was warm and softly lit. Candles burned in sconces. The bed was draped in crimson. Cersei stood by the window, looking out over the dark city. When she turned, the light for a moment haloed her head like flame. You went to look at your book again, she said, scratching away at your redemption. I like to see my lies written neat, Jaime said. You sent for me. She walked toward him, her bare feet silent on the rug. Her hair smelled of some oil he didn't recognize, something sharp and sweet and cloying. She touched the front of his tunic, fingers tracing the lion's head clasp, the embossed steel. I have been thinking, she said. He waited. You are right about one thing, she said. The city will not forget. The people will whisper. The story of the September will become the story of me. Then you've called it off, he said. No, she said. I have refined it. He felt his jaw tighten. Do enlighten me. If the city must have a story, Cersei said, let it be one that benefits us. Fire is a fickle thing. It leaps where it will, does it not? All it needs is a spark. A candle placed just so. A lantern knocked over. An accident. You want to pretend it was an accident, Jaime said. You think no one will wonder why there was enough wildfire stored Bene. ADH the September to send half the hill into the sky. Half of them don't even remember the last war, Cersei said. And those who do will know only what we tell them. Perhaps a forgotten cache from the days of Aerys. Perhaps some act of fanaticism by the faith. Fire is easy to blame on those who are already mad. And Tommen, Jaime said, where will he be while his city burns by accident? With us, she said. In the Red Keep, safe. And if the fire does not stay where you command? His voice scraped. If it spreads? If it reaches the keep? Her gaze was steady. Then we will burn with them. He stared. You would really? If I cannot have my son, my throne, my life as I choose it, she said. I will not live to watch them take it. I will not be a cast-off queen living like some fat widow in a tower while the Faith and the Tyrells rule through my son. If Tommen is to be their puppet, I would sooner see his strings cut. For a heartbeat, the room tilted around him. You don't mean that, he said. She stepped closer, her hand lifting to cup his cheek. I mean every word. I would die rather than watch them corrupt him. And I would rather he die with me than live as their toy. He caught her wrist, fingers digging into her skin hard enough to leave marks. You were talking about murdering our son, he said, his voice little more than a rasp. Our son is already dead, she said very softly. He just doesn't know it yet. They will kill him in pieces. Today his will, tomorrow his pride, the next day his love for us. When they are done, he will look at us as if we are strangers. Is that a life you would wish for him? I would wish him any life at all, Jaime said. I would wish him a chance. A chance to be weak, she said in contempt. A chance to be ruled. That is not what a lion cub needs. He searched her face, desperate for some flicker of the woman he once knew. All he saw was a flame burning itself down to the wick. If you go through with this, he said, you will not only be the worst queen the city has ever seen, you will be the worst mother. Her hand twisted in his grip, the bones delicate under his fingers. And you will be the worst father, she said. Stand aside, and you will watch him die by their hands. Stand against me, and you will watch him die by mine. Her eyes glittered. Those are the choices. You told me once that you preferred ugly truths to pretty lies. Here we are. He remembered another ugly truth. Ares's voice on the throne room steps. Burn them all. The way his tongue had lolled when the sword slid through him. Cersei, he said, I won't let you. She smiled then. It was a sad smile, and for an instant, it almost broke him. You won't let me, she repeated. How strange. All our lives, you did everything I asked. Every little thing. You killed for me, lied for me. You swore to protect me when father would have married me off to some old goat. And now, when I finally ask you for something that matters more than anything, she shook her head. You disappoint me, little brother. The words struck like blows. Little brother. Valonqar. The old woman had hissed once, her breath sour with wine. The Valonqar shall wrap his hands about your pale white throat and choke the life from you. Jaime had never believed in prophecies. He believed in choices. He let go of her wrist abruptly. Cersei rubbed the reddened flesh, watching him. For the first time, he saw something like uncertainty in her eyes. You won't stop, he said. You will find a way to light it, with or without me. Yes, she said. All right, he said. He stepped forward and kissed her. She had always tasted of home and of danger. She kissed him back, fierce, fingers tangling in his hair. For a moment, the years fell away. No white cloak, no golden hand, no dead king or lost children. Just them, alone against the world, two halves of one whole. He broke the kiss gently. Her pupils were wide, her cheeks flushed. It doesn't have to be like this, he said. It does, she whispered. We are what we are. He nodded as if in agreement. Then his golden hand snapped up. He struck her throat with the heel of it, hard and precise. The metal slammed into her windpipe, cutting off breath, words, everything. Cersei's eyes flared in shock. She staggered back, clutching at her neck. I'm sorry, Jaime said, and launched himself at her. She fought. Gods, she fought. Nails raked his face. Teeth snapped at his hand. Knees drove toward his groin. She was not a warrior, but rage made her strong and desperation made her clever. She went for his eyes, for the joints in his arm, for the soft places. He wrapped his golden fingers around her throat. They were not hands, truly. They were shaped metal, hardened and unforgiving. They did not feel the warmth of skin or the flutter of a pulse. They did not shake. Cersei's mouth opened. No sound came out. Her nails gouged his forearms, hot lines of pain. He held on. Her green eyes, the same shade as his, stared into his. Behind them he saw fury, hatred, betrayal. And, flickering beneath it all, the smallest shard of something like disbelief. "You won't," that look said. "You can't. You are mine. I loved you," he said hoarsely. "Once. Maybe I still do. But I love this city more. I love him more. I have to." Her lips formed a word. He thought it might be liar. Her hands scrabbled at his face, at his cloak, at his arm. Her fingers slowed. The strength went out of them. Her eyes, those green eyes that had once been his whole world, clouded. He watched the light go out. When it was done, he eased her to the floor. For a long time, he knelt there beside her, breathing hard. His own hands shook now, both of them, the flesh and the gold. His face stung where she had scratched him. He could feel blood running down his cheek. Her neck bore the red imprint of his golden fingers, an ugly, perfect bracelet. Kingslayer, they had called him. Queensel. Now. "No," he whispered to the empty room. "No, I saved them. I saved them." The gods did not answer. The only sound was his own breathing and the faint crackle of candles. He closed her eyes with his hand, the real one, gentle. She looked younger with her features smoothed in death, almost like the girl who had lain with him in the straw of the stables at Casterly Rock, laughing as the horses snorted in protest. "I'm sorry," he said again, and the words broke something in his chest. He rose on unsteady legs. The city was still there, spread out beneath the red keep like a sleeping animal. Somewhere down there, Tommen was dreaming behind locked doors, watched over by guards who thought themselves loyal. Jaime wiped his face and straightened his cloak. There would be questions. There would be accusations, rumors, whispers. He would have to lie, and then lie again, and maybe tell an ugly truth clogged with prettier ones. He would have to move quickly. Secure Tommen, deal with the alchemists, quietly empty the vaults of wildfire and see them destroyed before any other hand could grasp their potential. He would have to live with what he had done. In the corridor outside Cersei's chamber, 2 Lannister guards straightened as he stepped out. They looked past him, expecting the queen. "She's resting," Jaime said. His voice did not shake. "No one is to disturb her until dawn. If anyone tries, you answer to me." "Yes, Lord Commander," one said, though his gaze snagged on the scratches on Jaime's face, on the spots of blood on his collar. "Is something wrong, my lord?" the other asked. Jaime smiled, the expression feeling like a wound. "Everything," he said. "Tell the king I will see him at first light." He walked away before they could ask more. The night air on the ramparts was cooler than the heat of the queen's chamber, almost brisk. Jaime stood on the wall and looked out over the city. Tiny pinpricks of light marked windows and cookfires and guarded gates. The sky above was strewn with stars, pale against the dark. Somewhere far to the north, beyond the neck, beyond the wall, something else moved in the night. He had heard stories from the Black Brothers who came to beg for men. Others, they called them, White Walkers in the fireside tales, the dead walking, the cold that never broke. He had laughed once, not out loud perhaps, but inwardly. Men made monsters of the unknown. It was easier than facing the ones they knew. Now, looking out over the city he had just spared from green fire, Jaime Lannister thought of cold blue eyes in the dark and felt a shiver he could not blame on the wind. "You think fire is the worst thing that can happen to a city?" he murmured to the night. "You have no imagination, Kingslayer." He leaned on the parapet, flesh hand curled over stone, golden hand hanging heavy at his side. Tomorrow, he would be a man with blood on his cloak and a dead queen on his conscience. Tomorrow, he would have to find a way to keep their son alive in a city that would tear itself apart with rumor. Tomorrow, he would have to face the faith, the Tyrells, the small council, and the world. Tonight, he stood alone with his choices. The wind shifted, carrying a faint scent. Not of smoke this time, but of something colder. Winter, he thought, though the air was still warm. A whisper of snow over stone, of ice grinding against ice. Jaime closed his eyes. In the darkness behind his lids, he saw a wall of white stretching to the sky. He saw a figure walking alone across a field of frozen bodies, a sword in his hand and frost in his hair. The figure's cloak billowed behind him, white as a Kingsguard's. The thing he walked toward was tall and thin and made of night-reflected light. Eyes blue as burning ice. The figure raised his sword. Jaime opened his eyes with a start. The wall was gone. The city lay beneath him, asleep and ignorant. The only sound was the distant barking of a dog, the creak of wood, the murmur of guards on patrol. "Dreams," he muttered. "Just dreams." He turned away from the edge. There was work to do, wildfire to be found and destroyed, a boy king to be shielded, lies to be told, a story to be reshaped so that the city did not tear him and Tommen apart. His steps echoed down the stone stair as he descended from the wall. He did not know that, far to the north, eyes of the same cold blue blinked open beneath a sky of cracking ice. He did not know that when he wrapped his golden hand around Cersei's throat, he had taken the first step down a road that led away from burning cities and toward frozen fields. A road that would carry him beyond crowns and lion banners and the petty wars of Southrons, to a place where all oaths and names would be stripped away, leaving only a man and the darkness he chose to stand against. Jaime Lannister only knew this. He had killed for love once, and for hate and for fear. Tonight, he had killed for something like hope. It did not feel any lighter. He did not remember crossing the yard. One moment Jaime was on the ramparts, the night wind in his hair, the city sprawling beneath him like a sleeping animal. The next, he was pushing open the heavy door to Qyburn's laboratory, the smell of blood and boiled leather hitting him like a slap. The room was a chaos of tables and shelves, jars and vials, tools whose uses he preferred not to know, candles guttered in iron brackets, casting long, trembling shadows. In one corner, a shape that might have been a man and might have been a heap of discarded armor stood unnaturally still. Ser Robert Strong did not sleep. Jaime doubted he even breathed. Qyburn himself looked up from a table where a dissected raven lay in neat pieces, black feathers spread like spilled ink. His small, pale eyes widened a fraction. "Lord Commander," he said, wiping his hands on a stiff cloth. "You keep late hours." "So do you," Jaime said. He shut the door carefully behind him. The sound of the latch sliding into place seemed very loud. Qyburn's gaze took in Jaime's face, the scratches, the smear of blood. His brows rose. "You're hurt." "It's nothing." Jaime stepped closer. "I need your help." Those pale eyes sharpened. Qyburn's mind moved quickly. Jaime could almost hear the gears turning. "Of course," the former maester said. "Anything for House Lannister. Is it urgent?" Jaime hesitated. The words felt like stones in his mouth. "The Queen is dead," he said. For a man who made a study of corpses, Qyburn was adept at feigning surprise. His mouth fell open just enough. His hand fluttered toward his chest, then steadied. "Dead," he repeated softly. "How unexpected." Jaime watched him. "Is it?" Qyburn's lips pursed. "She has endured a much. The humiliation, the imprisonment, the strain. Yet I did not think." He shook his head slowly, as if grieving. "How terrible. Does the king?" "No," Jaime said sharply. "No one knows yet. Only me. And now you." Qyburn glanced at the closed door. When he looked back, his eyes glittered. "I see. You will come with me," Jaime said. "Now, you will examine her. You will tell me exactly what a man of your physic would say killed her. And you will keep your mouth shut about anything else you see." "Anything else?" Qyburn repeated. "Should I expect more?" Jaime's golden hand flexed at his side. "Just bring your tools." They went together through the quiet corridors of the Red Keep, Qyburn's soft steps whispering beside Jaime's heavier ones. Ser Robert followed without a sound, his massive bulk moving with eerie grace. No guards challenged them. The white of Jaime's cloak and the red of Qyburn's loyalty were shield enough. Outside Cersei's door, the two Lannister guards Jaime had spoken to earlier stiffened. "Lord Commander," one said. His eyes flicked between Jaime and Qyburn. The Queen?" "Is resting," Jaime said. The lie came easier this time. "She complained of feeling unwell." This man is here to see to her. You will let him pass, and you will not breathe a word of this to anyone. If a single whisper of unwell reaches the court tonight, I will know where to look." "Yes, my lord," the guard said, swallowing. Inside, the chamber was just as he had left it. Cersei lay on the rug where he had eased her down, her hair fanned around her head like a golden halo. Her eyes were closed, her mouth faintly open. The red marks on her throat were stark and ugly in the candlelight. Qyburn stopped just inside the door. For once, his habitual calm fractured. His eyebrows climbed. His lips parted. "Ah," he said softly. Ser Robert stood in the doorway, his great helm concealing whatever might be left of his face. Jaime could feel that dead thing's attention like a weight. "Close the door," Jaime said. Qyburn did so, then approached the body with an almost reverent care. He knelt beside Cersei, his fingers hovering just above her ruined throat. "I did not know you had such a firm grasp," he murmured. Jaime's stomach lurched. "You will not say that again," he said. "Of course not," Qyburn said smoothly. His hands moved with professional efficiency now, checking her pulseless wrist, the stiffness of her limbs, the color of her lips. He examined the bruises, the broken vessels in her eyes. Jaime watched, fists clenched at his sides. The metal fingers of his right hand bit into his palm. "Well?" he demanded. Qyburn sat back on his heels. "Strangulation," he said mildly. "Crushed larynx, air cut off. It would not have taken long." "Can you tell how?" Jaime asked. "A rope? Hands?" Qyburn's gaze slid to the golden fingers hanging at Jaime's side. "The marks are broad," he said. "Not the fine line a cord would leave. I would say hands. Large ones. Strong." His eyes crawled back up to Jaime's face. "But then I am no longer a maester, only a humble servant." "Serve, then," Jaime said through his teeth. "Can you hide it?" Qyburn tilted his head. "You wish it to appear natural?" "Natural," Jaime said. The word tasted absurd. "Peaceful, as if she died in her sleep. A weak heart, perhaps. The strain. Grief. One might say grief places a particular strain on the throat," Qyburn mused, but he waved the thought aside with a flick of his bony hand. "Yes, I can blur the obvious. Some tinctures to soften the bruising, a scarf to conceal what cannot be made to vanish. The city will see what you tell it to see, Lord Commander. They always do." "And you?" Jaime asked. "What will you see?" Qyburn's expression was almost gentle. "A woman who has left this world," he said. "A brother who must now bear the weight of what remains. I have no love for the faith, nor for the Tyrells. I served your father. I serve your house. I have no interest in spreading stories that might weaken it." "You have interest in many things," Jaime said. "Secrets, oddities, dead men who should not move." Qyburn's mouth curved. "True, and in return I can offer you something. Silence, counsel, loyalty of a sort more dependable than most in this city. We may be of use to one another." The thought of bargaining over Cersei's corpse made bile rise in Jaime's throat. "Do what needs doing," he said harshly, "and keep your monster out of sight." He left them there, Qyburn arranging Cersei's limbs with grotesque care, Ser Robert looming in the candlelight like a tomb effigy that had stepped off its slab. The image followed him down the corridor, a weight at his back. On the ramparts, the wind did nothing to clear it. By the time the first pale light of dawn began to creep into the sky, Cersei Lannister looked almost as she had in life. The bruises on her throat had faded from livid red to a mottled yellow-brown under Qyburn's alchemy. A lace collar rose high around her neck, delicate as cobweb, drawing the eye away from the damage. He had dressed her in black silk and lion-embroidered velvet, smoothed her hair, tinted her lips just enough to give the illusion of sleep. "She looks peaceful," Pycelle wheezed, peering down at the body with rheumy eyes. The Grand Maester's hands shook on the head of his staff. "Some women, they say, go quietly in the night, after a great HRM stress. The heart, yes, the heart," Her grace has not been well, Qyburn agreed smoothly. He stood at the foot of the bier, hands folded, the picture of somber respect. The ordeal of her walk, the strain of her trial looming. I examined her last evening at the Lord Commander's request. She complained of tightness in the chest, difficulty drawing breath. I prescribed rest. I fear it was not enough. Jaime said nothing. He stood at the head of the bier, looking down at Cersei's face. The room was smaller than the throne room, meant for private farewells. The air was heavy with the scent of beeswax and some cloying incense that could not quite mask the iron tang beneath. Kevan Lannister stood opposite him, shoulders squared, his weathered face carved in lines of grief and suspicion both. The king's hand watched his niece's still form with a grim set to his jaw. How could this have happened without anyone noticing? Kevan demanded. She had guards outside her door, serving women. You say she retired early, Jaime, that she asked for no one. Jaime's throat felt raw. She said she was tired, he managed. She complained of feeling unwell earlier in the day, but she dismissed it. You know Cersei, she would not admit weakness. She was stronger than most men I have known, Kevan said, and there was real respect in his voice. But even a lion's heart can fail. His gaze drifted to Jaime's face, lingering on the faint half-moons of healing scratches. You are certain she was alone?
Yes, Jaime Leet.
Pycelle puffed and muttered something about humors and age and womanly stresses. Qyburn listened with polite attentiveness, though his eyes were lively with secrets. Where is his grace? Kevan asked. Our poor boy, his voice caught. With the Queen, Jaime said. The title felt strange, but it was what they had agreed. Margaery Tyrell had clung to Tommen when the news reached him, her cries of dismay as artful as they were heartfelt. Tommen had collapsed against her, sobbing into her shoulder like the child he still was. I must see her, the boy had said, his eyes wild. I must see my mother. Not yet, Kevan had said, firm but not unkind. Give them time to prepare her. Jaime had been grateful. He did not think he could endure watching Tommen look on the bruises he had left. Now, in the chamber where Cersei lay, the men of power in King's Landing circled around her like wolves around a fallen pack leader. We will put it out that the Queen died peacefully in her sleep, Kevan said at last. Pycelle, you will say her heart gave out. Qyburn, you will support this. There will be no mention of anything else. Of course, my lord, Qyburn said. Word of this must spread carefully. Kevan went on. We do not need panic on the eve of the trials. The faith will seize on any hint of scandal. The Tyrells will whisper that we are cursed. We must show unity, strength. How? Jaime asked quietly. By pretending nothing has changed? The Queen is dead. Kevan met his gaze. The crown remains. The king remains. And you, Lord Commander, you are a Lannister of Casterly Rock. Your place is beside Tommen, in the sight of the court. You will not go herring off across the countryside again. I went when you and Cersei both were trying to pull the same knot from opposite sides, Jaime said. Someone had to keep our men from stabbing their allies in the back. And you succeeded, Kevan said. You brought the Blackfish to terms. You prevented further bloodshed in the Riverlands. Good. Now we have blood enough here. He gestured at Cersei. Will you abandon your nephew now, when he needs you most? Your son. The words whispered in Jaime's mind. I won't leave him, he said aloud. Good. Kevan exhaled. We will summon the small council. The Tyrells must be told, and the faith. Better they hear it from us than from gossip. The High Sparrow will insist on his rights, Pycelle wheezed. The faith has strict requirements for the burial of a queen accused of HRM sins. The body, the shrouding. The High Sparrow will see her when I permit it, Jaime said, steel entering his tone. Not before. I will not have his grimy hands pawing at my sister. Your queen, Qyburn murmured, just loud enough. Jaime shot him a look. Qyburn's face remained bland. Kevan rubbed a hand over his eyes. We cannot openly defy the faith, not now, he said. Not with Tommen so bound up in them. We must tread carefully. The trials are unnecessary now, Pycelle said. If the queen is dead, her offenses are between her and the gods. Ah, but the queen's trial was tied to the Tyrell girls, was it not? The faith may not agree to set her free simply because Cersei expired. They will not, Qyburn said. They are too fond of their power. Then we must make them, Kevin said. Without a queen consort, Tommen needs Marjorie more than ever. The realm needs the Tyrell grain and ships. The High Sparrow will have to be made to see reason. Jaime thought of Cersei's voice, low and furious, echoing in the vault of wildfire. They care nothing for names. They would have dragged you through the streets as well. You don't make men like him see reason, Jaime said. You show them a sword and pray they understand that. We will not start another war in the streets, Kevin said. Not over a dead woman's trial. We will negotiate. I will speak with the High Sparrow. Jaime, you will stay with Tommen. He must not do anything rash. Like jump from a window? The thought came unbidden, cold and sharp. Jaime pushed it away. He is a gentle boy, Kevin said. Too gentle for the games we play. You must be his shield now, as well as his sword. A king's guard was meant to be both. I will watch Jaime said. He did. Tommen had always been a quiet child. Joffrey had screamed and kicked and demanded. Myrcella had smiled and charmed and maneuvered. Tommen had clung to cats and books and the safety of his mother's presence. Now, seated on the edge of his great bed with his shoulders hunched and his reddened eyes fixed on some point in the middle distance, he looked smaller than Jaime had ever seen him. Marjorie sat beside him, one arm around his shoulders. Her hair was unbound, falling in a brown cascade down her back. She had dismissed her handmaids, sent even her brother from the room. Only Jaime remained, leaning against the carved bedpost, his white cloak trailing on the rushes. Sometimes, Marjorie was saying softly, the gods decide they need someone more than we do, like a flower whose season is finished. They pluck it and bring it to their garden. Tommen made a strangled sound. She wasn't finished, he said. She wasn't. She was all I had. You have me, Marjorie said, drawing him closer. You have your uncle. You have the whole realm looking to you. You are not alone, Tommen. I swear it. He leaned into her, shuddering. Marjorie glanced over his head at Jaime, her eyes bright with unshed tears. Whether those tears were for Tommen, for Cersei, or for her own precarious position, Jaime could not say. She was strong, Tommen whispered, stronger than anyone. How could her heart just stop? Jaime's jaw tensed. The words he had rehearsed tasted like ashes. Even the strongest hearts can break, he said. Your mother has carried many burdens. Joffrey, Myrcella, father, the faith, the city, you, me, all of us. Sometimes, he searched for something that was not a complete lie. Sometimes the weight is too much. Tommen scrubbed at his eyes with the heel of his hand. I wasn't a burden, he said, sounding suddenly like a small boy. Was I? No, Jaime said fiercely. He sat on the bed beside him, the mattress dipping under his weight. Never. You were her joy, Tommen. The one thing she loved without any doubt. Loved? Tommen echoed, flinching. Past tense. She still loves you, Jaime said. Wherever she is. That doesn't stop because her heart does. Tommen looked at him then, really looked, as if seeing him clearly for the first time. There were shadows under the boy's eyes, too old for his years. You're not crying, Tommen said. No, Jaime admitted. Do you not miss her? The question cut deeper than any sword. Jaime swallowed. I miss the girl who used to climb trees with me in the woods at Casterly Rock, he said. I miss the woman who would laugh at father behind his back. I miss the mother who held you when you were small and wouldn't let anyone else near you. The queen she became. He hesitated, feeling Marjorie's gaze on him as keenly as a blade. I miss pieces of her. Others I am glad are gone. That's an ugly thing to say, perhaps, but it's true. Tommen stared down at his hands. Is it wrong to think that? He whispered. To be angry? I loved her. She did cruel things. To Marjorie, to Loras, to others. The High Sparrow says we must judge ourselves as harshly as we judge others. But when I think of her now, it's all mixed up. I don't know what I'm supposed to feel. Jaime reached out and, for once, did not stop himself. He put his hand on the boy's shoulder. You feel what you feel, he said. There is no supposed. Grief is messy. Love is messier. Anyone who tells you it should be clean is lying. Tommen's lips trembled. I'm scared, he confessed, of what happens now, of the faith, of the Tyrells, of ruling without her. You are not alone, Marjorie said again, squeezing him. Your uncle will guide you. My family will support you. The faith will counsel you. The faith, Jaime said carefully, answers to the gods, not to you, not to me. The High Sparrow has his own ideas of what you need. He caught Tommen's eye. Listen to him if you must. But remember, you are the king. He is not. His job is to remind you of the gods. My job is to keep you alive. There will be times when those jobs do not agree. When that happens, he paused. When that happens, you must decide what kind of king you want to be. A good one, Tommen said immediately. Better than Joffrey. That's a start, Jaime said. But good means different things to different men. A good king to the High Sparrow is not a good king to Mace Tyrell, or to Lord Tarly, or to the people in Flea Bottom. What about to you? Tommen asked. What's a good king to you? Jaime thought of Aerys, raving on his throne, of Robert drunk and red-faced, of Joffrey with his crossbow and his cruelty, of Tommen, gentle and frightened, curled between a rose and a lion. A good king, he said slowly, is one who puts his people before his pride, who understands that his power rests on their backs. A king who listens, even when he doesn't like what he hears, who admits when he is wrong, and doesn't let a bad choice become a worse one just because he cannot bear to undo it. Tommen frowned. That sounds hard. It is, Jaime said, but you have a chance that most kings never get. You've seen what happens when a king fails. Learn from it. Marjorie watched him intently, her hand moving idly through Tommen's hair. Jaime met her gaze. There was a question in her eyes he did not answer. I'll try, Tommen whispered. That's all anyone can do, Jaime said. The small council met that afternoon. They gathered in the familiar round room. Kevin at the head of the table, the hands chain heavy around his neck. Mace Tyrell puffing in his embroidered doublet. Pycelle shuffling and wheezing. Qyburn observing, silent and watchful. Marjorie sat at Tommen's side, her presence a statement. Olenna Tyrell had not deigned to attend. She had sent a curt note instead, filled with barbed condolences. Jaime took his place near the king, the white of his cloak a stark contra. St to the room's rich wood. Outside, the city buzzed with rumors. Inside, they set about giving those rumors shape. We must announce her death swiftly, Kevin said. Delay breeds gossip. Gossip breeds unrest. We will tell the court that the queen died peacefully in her sleep, after complaining of pains in her chest. The people won't believe it, Mace Tyrell said, plucking at his mustaches. They'll say she was murdered, poisoned, that the gods struck her down. Let them, Kevin said. As long as they do not say we did it. Who else could? Mace demanded, then reddened. I don't mean, of course I don't mean. The faith, Pycelle interjected. There are those who will whisper that the High Sparrow's treatment of the queen weakened her, that the gods judged her through him. There may be trouble. There is always trouble, Kevin said. Our task is to keep it from tearing the realm apart. Tommen's hands were clenched on the table. Will they still put Marjorie on trial? He asked, voice small. That is unclear, Your Grace, Pycelle said. The High Sparrow has insisted that the charges against the Queen and the Queen's consort are tied. Without Cersei, he may be more inclined to show mercy. Olenna Tyrell will not forgive us easily if her granddaughter is marched through the streets as Cersei was, Mace said. She may take her armies and her ships and go home. Where would that leave you, boy? With a city full of hungry mouths and no bread, Kevin said bluntly. We cannot afford to offend the Reach. Not now. Jaime drummed his fingers on the table. Then we must make the High Sparrow see that holding Marjorie any longer does more harm than good, he said. And we must do it without making a martyr of him. Tricky, Marjorie murmured. Everyone looked at her. She smiled thinly. The High Sparrow thrives on spectacle, she said. He made one of Cersei. He made one of Loras. He made one of me. Deny him that, and he loses power. If the people see him as the man who imprisoned their beloved queen only to slink away when politics turned against him, he loses his hold on them. You think you are beloved, Mace said approvingly. Marjorie's eyes slid to Jaime. I know how to be, she said. Jaime considered. We can use that, he said. If you are willing, your grace. She cocked her head. What do you have in mind, Lord Commander? He outlined it. Marjorie, the grieving young widow in all but name, would play the penitent before the faith. She would beg forgiveness for her supposed sins, not because she feared judgment, but because she wished to be a queen for her people in their hour of need. She would speak of Cersei's death as a sign that the gods had taken their vengeance and that further cruelty would only bring suffering on the innocent. She would promise to guide Tommen in piety, with the faith's counsel, if only they allowed her to return to his side. The High Sparrow gets to say he broke 2 queens, Jaime finished. The people get Marjorie back. We get the Tyrell's support. And in exchange, the faith gives up its chance to drag another Lannister through the streets. Me, Tommen said hollowly. Yes, Jaime said. And if he refuses? Marjorie asked. Jaime met her gaze. Then we find another way, he said. But we try this first. It costs us little. It costs me my pride, Marjorie said. Pride is cheaper than blood, Jaime said. She smiled crookedly. Spoken like a man who has lost both. He did not deny it. Kevin nodded. It is a reasonable plan, he said. Better than storming the September and starting a war. I will speak with the High Sparrow first. He must hear the offer from the crown. I should go as well, Jaime said. Kevin frowned. You are not hand. Your place is with the king. My place is where his enemies can see my sword, Jaime replied. The High Sparrow will be more cautious if he knows I am watching. You would threaten a holy man? Pycelle tooted. I would remind him that his flesh bleeds like anyone else's, Jaime said. Kevin studied him. You have changed, he said. I've had practice, Jaime said. The Riverlands were an education. He thought of Brienne, stubborn and honest, refusing to let him sink entirely into the mud he'd chosen. He thought of the oath he had given Lady Catelyn Stark, the one he had kept as best he could despite everything. An oath is an oath, wench, even for a Kingslayer. Very well, Kevin said. You and I will go to the September together. We will present a united front. The King's hand and the Lord Commander. The crown's sword and seal. And while you go, Mace said, what of the other matters? We have reports from the north, remnant letters from the Night's Watch. Wildling raids, storms, strange tales from beyond the wall. My bannermen are asking what we mean to do. Winter is coming, Pycelle wheezed. It always is. The north is always full of strange tales. Qyburn cleared his throat delicately. Some of those tales are unusual, even by northern standards, he said. Jaime's attention sharpened. Unusual how? Qyburn inclined his head to Tommen. Your Grace, if I may speak plainly? Of course, Tommen said, looking grateful for any distraction from his grief. Qyburn produced a parchment from his sleeve and unfolded it. The wax seal of the Night's Watch hung broken at the bottom. This came some days ago, he said, addressed to the king. It was mislaid, in the confusion of recent events. I apologize for the delay. Jaime wondered how much truth lay in that apology. Qyburn liked his secrets. He read aloud. The script was cramped, the words rushed, as if written between alarms. To His Grace, Tommen of House Baratheon, Qyburn began. King of the Undulls and the First Men, Lord of the Seven Kingdoms and Protector of the Realm, from Jon Snow, Lord Commander of the Night's Watch at Castle Black. Jaime's brows rose. Jon Snow, Ned Stark's bastard. The boy he'd once mocked in Winterfell's so he'd taken the black after all. Your Grace, Qyburn continued, this letter will seem madness to you. I would call it madness myself, had I not seen what I have seen with my own eyes. The dead are walking. Men killed in battle rise again and fight on. They do not feel pain or fear. Fire and obsidian are the only things that stop them. They come with the cold, led by creatures born of ice and night. We have lost many men at a place called Hardhome. I do not know how many of the free folk survived. I beg you, send men. Send Dragonglass if you have it. Send any who are not needed for your southern wars. If the wall falls, the realm will have no shield. All the power in King's Landing will not matter when winter comes south. We are the shield that guards the realms of men, but our shield is cracking. Do not let it break. The words hung in the chamber like frost. Mace snorted. Dead men walking, he said. Fairy stories to frighten children. We have all heard the tales, Pycelle said. Grumpkins and Snarks, White Walkers and Giants. The North is full of such nonsense. If the Night's Watch has lost men, it is likely to wildling raids or internal squabbles. They have always been a nest of vipers, those Black brothers. Castle Black has always sent its begging letters with tales of doom, Kevin said, to frighten the South into sending men they do not have. We cannot strip the realm of soldiers on the word of one crow. One crow who is Ned Stark's son, Jaime said softly. They looked at him. You knew him? Marjorie asked. Briefly, Jaime said. On my way north with Robert years ago. He was a boy then, sullen, honest, too honorable for his own good. He thought of Jon Snow standing stiff-backed in the courtyard while his siblings sparred and laughed. He is not the sort to invent monsters for a few extra swords. Might he exaggerate? Qyburn asked delicately. Men who are frightened see enemies everywhere. Battle is confusing. Maybe, Jaime said. Or maybe we just don't want to believe him because it's easier not to. Tommen's hand crept toward the parchment. If it's true, he said. If the dead are walking, shouldn't we help? Father always said the Night's Watch guards us all. Your father said many things, Kevin said. Most of them with a wine cup in hand. Dead men walking, Mace repeated, as if the words themselves offended him. We have real threats to deal with. The Faith, the Iron Bank, the bloody Dornish. We can't go chasing phantoms in the snow. Jaime glanced at Qyburn. What do you think? He asked. Qyburn's smile was thin. I think, he said, that if there is even a chance it is true, we would be wise to learn more. Knowledge is never wasted, especially about enemies one does not understand. That's what my father used to say, Marjorie murmured. Kevin rubbed his temples. We do not have the men to spare, he said. The Reach and the Westerlands bled in the war already. The Crown's coffers are near empty. The Faith stirs trouble in the streets. Every lord from Dorne to the Twins is watching us for weakness. To send an army north now, on the word of a bastard crow. Then don't send an army, Jaime said. They frowned at him. Send a man, he said. One rider, two with a dozen good swords. Not enough to weaken us, enough to see what's happening. If they come back with stories of wildlings and nothing more, we've lost little. If they come back with tales like this... His eyes returned to the parchment. The dead are walking. He tapped it. Then we decide what it means. Who would you send? Mace asked, skepticism thick in his tone. Jaime thought of Brienne again, of the biting cold on the road, the ache in his missing hand. He thought of the dream on the wall last night, the one he'd dismissed as guilt and ghosts. A figure walking alone across frozen fields. A sword in his hand, frost in his hair. "I'll go myself," he heard himself say. The room exploded. "You cannot," Kevin said, slamming his palm on the table. "You are Lord Commander of the Kingsguard. You cannot leave Tommen now, not with his mother dead and the court in turmoil." "You just told me we don't have men to spare," Jaime said. "All the more reason to send someone who knows how to fight and doesn't command an army." "You don't know the North," Pycelle croaked. "The cold, the roads. You'd be dead before you reached the neck." "I can learn," Jaime said. "I've learned worse." "And if you die?" Kevin demanded. "If the realm loses not only its queen but its Lord Commander in the same month, the wolves and stags and sparrows will tear us apart." Jaime opened his mouth to argue, but Marjorie spoke first. "Perhaps not now," she said. Her voice was calm, thoughtful. "Tommen needs you here. The faith needs managing. The wildfire you hinted at," she gave him a pointed look, "needs dealing with. But later, if things are calmer, if we have secured the city, perhaps then you could go. Or send someone you trust." "I trust very few," Jaime said. "Then cultivate someone," she said. "Make them worthy of your trust. That, too, is part of being a king's commander." Kevin nodded. "Marjorie is right. We cannot afford to lose you now, Jaime. You will stay. We will keep an eye on the north through ravens. If the situation worsens, we can revisit the question." "It may be too late by then," Jaime said. "Perhaps," Kevin said. "But we cannot fight every war at once. The living enemies at our gates must come first. The dead, Jaime thought, have all the time in the world." "Very well," he said. "We send a letter, then." A reply. "Something to let them know they're not entirely forgotten." "You want to comfort them?" May scoffed. "I want them to keep sending ravens," Jaime said. "Men are quicker to write if they think someone is reading." "Including our enemies," Qyburn said softly. There was a grim sort of agreement at that. When the council broke, the day already waning, Jaime found himself with more tasks than hours. Arrangements for Cersei's lying in state, conversations with captains about increased patrols, a quiet visit to the Alchemist's Guild. Helene the pyromancer greeted him with nervous eagerness. His green eyes gleamed with some inner light. His fingers twitched together as if itching to shape flame from air. "Lord Commander," Helene said, bowing low. "An honor. We heard of the Queen's passing. Terrible loss. She was interested in our work." "I know," Jaime said. "That's why I'm here." The guild hall smelled of smoke and something sweeter, like overripe fruit left in the sun. Copper alembics and glass tubes lined the walls. In one corner, an apprentice stirred a pot that hissed and smoked, the liquid inside a deep, unnatural green. "Beautiful, is it not?" Helene said, following Jaime's gaze. "The substance that won the Blackwater and saved the city. Our royal patron was most generous after that victory. She understood the value of our art. She understood that it frightened people," Jaime said. "Fear is a kind of value." Helene fluttered his hands. "Oh, we take the utmost precautions, my lord. The guild keeps careful records of every jar, every drop. We would never risk an incident within the city's walls." "You already have," Jaime said, "under a different king." Helene's smile faltered. "Ares II abused our gifts. He was not stable." "That's one word for it," Jaime said. "Here's another. Dead." He stepped closer, lowering his voice. "I've seen what wildfire does," he said. "I've watched men scream in green flame. I've seen ships become floating pyres. I've heard a king mutter, 'Burn them all,' until his tongue swelled." His golden hand closed around the hilt of his sword. "There is enough of the stuff under this city to kill us all. That ends now." Helene swallowed. "My lord, the Queen." "The Queen is dead," Jaime said. The words felt strange every time he spoke them. "Her plans died with her. From now on, nothing is brewed, nothing is stored. Nothing is moved without my knowledge and the hands. Do you understand? Helene's fingers twisted in his sleeves. But the city needs. What it needs, Jaime said, is a king who does not have the choice of burning it. You will take an inventory of every jar, every cask, every drop. You will identify the ones stored in the most dangerous locations. He thought of the vault beneath the September, the jars tucked under inns and granaries like seeds of catastrophe. Those will be moved, carefully, under heavy guard, out of the city. Out, Helene squeaked. But where? The sea, Jaime said. Not near any port, not near any ship lane. You will find a way to make it inert, or you will sink it so deep even the gods forget where it lies. Leave enough here to defend the city if it's ever besieged again. A small amount stored under the Red Keep under lock and key, with only the hand and myself holding those keys. Nothing more. Helene licked his lips. That will take time. Then start now, Jaime said. Consider this your new royal patronage. Helene swallowed again. His eyes darted to the apprentice, to the simmering green. And if, he hesitated, if his grace objects? He won't, Jaime said, because no one will tell him. This is not a burden for a boy. It's ours. Helene looked at him for a long moment. As you say, Lord Commander, he murmured. We live to serve. Jaime did not entirely believe him. Men like Helene lived to watch things burn. But fear could be as effective a leash as gold. That night, exhausted and wired both, Jaime found himself again in the White Tower. The book lay open where he had left it, his quill marks still drying on the page. He stared at the blank lines beneath his name. Killed his queen to save a city. No bard would sing that song. He dipped the quill. He did not write of Cersei. He did not write of wildfire, or of strangled queens and hidden bruises. Instead, in a cramped, careful hand, he added a single line. Rode north to learn the truth of old tales. The words looked almost absurd, standing alone. Not yet, a voice said behind him. He turned. Brienne of Tarth stood in the doorway. For a heartbeat, he thought she was a ghost conjured by guilt. Too tall, too solid. Her hair tied back in an unflattering knot. Her face as plain as ever. Her armor was scuffed and travel-stained. She looked incongruous in the Kingsguard's polished white tower, like a piece of the wilds dragged indoors. Brienne, he said, rising so quickly his bench scraped. What in seven hells are you doing here? She frowned. You sent for me, she said. He blinked. Did I? You sent a letter, she said. From the Riverlands, after Riverrun. Her gaze flicked to his golden hand. You said you might need someone without ties to the city. Someone to remind you of your oaths. You said if I still meant to keep my vow to Lady Catelyn, there was work yet to do. Jaime stared at her. He remembered writing something in the restless nights after Riverrun. A half-mad impulse, a reaching toward the only person who had ever looked at him and seen more than his cloak. He had not thought she would actually come. I didn't know if the letter would reach you, he said. It reached me, she said. I was on my way back to the north to seek Sansa Stark. Your letter diverted me. I'm sorry, he said, and meant it. I may have pulled you into something worse. Her eyes narrowed. I saw the Queen's body, she said. Being born to the September word is she died in her sleep, that her heart gave out. Word says many things, Jaime said. Brienne watched him. She had a way of doing that which made him feel stripped to the bone. What happened? She asked. He thought of lying. He thought of telling her nothing, of keeping this bloody, intimate sin folded up inside his chest like a stab wound. He found he could not. Cersei was going to burn the city, he said casually, with wildfire, like Ares. Brienne went still. She had jars placed under the September, Jaime went on. Under inns, under granaries. Enough to turn King's Landing into a pyre. She meant to light it when they tried her. His mouth twisted. She would have killed the High Sparrow, the Tyrells, half the court. Tommen, everyone. She thought it better than letting them judge her. Brienne's hand tightened on the hilt of her sword. "How do you know this?" she asked. "She showed me," he said. "She wanted me to help her." He laughed once, a harsh, broken sound. "She said I was the only one who knew what it was to choose. To kill a king to save a city. She wanted me to do it again. Only this time, the king was a boy, and the fire was under our feet." Brienne paled. "Gods! I tried to talk her out of it," he said. "She wouldn't listen. She said she'd rather see Tommen dead than in the Sparrow's hands. She said she'd rather see the city burn than herself brought low again." His throat tightened. She meant it. I believed her. And so, he could not bring himself to say the words. They felt too small, too thin for what he had done. Brienne supplied them, her voice flat. "You killed her." "Yes," he said. She looked at him, long and hard. In her eyes he saw horror, yes, and grief, but not surprise. "Did you have a choice?" she asked. "I could have walked away," he said. "Let the trials happen. Trusted to chance." "You don't believe in chance," she said. "Not for things like this." "No," he admitted. "You could have told someone," she said. "The hand, the Tyrells, the faith." "Cersei was right about one thing," he said. "The faith would have used it as another sermon. The Tyrells as another knife. Kevin as another reason to chain us. There would have been chaos, war, rumor. Half the city might have died in the panic even if we never lit a single jar." "So you decided alone," she said. "Yes," he said. She was silent for a long moment. "You swore to protect the queen," she said at last. "I swore to protect the people," he said. "The realm." "You swore to protect them all," she said. "You had an impossible choice. Whichever way you turned, you'd break an oath." "Story of my life," he said. "Do you regret it?" she asked. He thought of Cersei's eyes, wide and furious, fading into cloudy stillness. He thought of the bruises on her neck, of Tommen's small, shaking shoulders. "Yes," he said, "and no, I regret how that it came to this. But if I had to choose again, between one woman and thousands of men, women and children screaming in green fire." He shook his head. "I'd do the same." Brienne's jaw worked. "Then all that's left," she said, "is to decide what you do next." He swallowed. "The North," he said. "The Wall. Jon Snow sent a letter. The dead are walking." Her eyes widened. "You believe him?" "I don't know what I believe," he said. "I know I've had dreams. Visions, maybe, if I were a more pious man. I know I've seen too much death to dismiss it when someone says it's getting worse." "And you want to go?" she said. "Yes," he said. "But I can't. Not yet. The city's too fragile. Tommen is. Kevin's right about that. If I leave now, they will tear him apart." Brienne nodded slowly. "So you need someone else," she said. "Someone you trust. Someone who can go north, see what's there, and come back with the truth." He looked at her. "Yes." She held his gaze. "You dragged me into this," she said. "With your letter, with your guilt, with your need." Her mouth quirked, humorless. "It seems only fair that you take my oath seriously when I give it." "What oath?" he asked. "The one I'm about to make," she said. She drew her sword and went down on one knee, the gesture awkward in the cramped doorway but no less sincere for it. The blade's point rested on the stone floor. "I, Brienne of House Tarth," she said, "swear that I will ride north at your command. I will seek out the truth of these tales, of dead men walking, of white walkers, of winter in the shape of men. I will defend the innocent where I find them, and I will send word of all I see. I will keep this oath until it is fulfilled or I die." Jaime stared at her. The room seemed suddenly very small, the air thick. "You shouldn't," he said. "You owe nothing to King's Landing." "I owe something to the living," she said, "and to the Starks. If there is a threat coming from the north, they will be in its path. I swore to protect Sansa. I failed once at Riverrun. I won't fail again if I can help it." "You might die," he said. So might you, sitting in this tower, she said. Death doesn't care where it finds us. You don't know the way, he said weakly. She snorted. I can follow a road, she said, and a trail, and a raven's flight if I have to. Her eyes softened. You are not the only one who can do hard things, Jaime. His name on her lips did something to him he did not care to define. Rise, he said hoarsely. She did. He stepped closer, close enough to see the nick in her breastplate, the faint scar along her jaw. You will need letters, he said. Safe passage, supplies, men. I work better alone, she said. Too many swords draw too many eyes. A dozen then, he said. Men who can keep their mouths shut. I'll find them. She nodded. And when you get to Castle Black, he said, if you get there, if Jon Snow lives, tell him, he hesitated. Tell him that what honor I have left believes him. Her expression shifted, something like respect in it. I will, she said. He reached out before he could stop himself and caught her wrist, much as he had Cersei's the night before. But this grip was gentle, grounding. Brienne, he said, if what you find is real, if the dead are walking, if there are White Walkers. The words felt strange. Send word, fast, whatever it takes. Pigeons, ravens, crows held in your teeth. She almost smiled. I will, she said again. And if you don't come back, he said, I'll know that I died keeping my oath, she said. There are worse ways. He wanted to tell her not to go, to stay, to help him hold this crumbling palace together, to stand beside him when the faith sneered and the Tyrells smirked and the court whispered. He let her go. When she left the White Tower, the moon was high. Jaime stayed where he was, staring at the single line he had written. Rode north to learn the truth of old tales. He dipped the quill again, added 2 more words. Through another. He sanded the ink and closed the book. The next morning, he went to the September of Baelor with Kevin. The great square before it was already thick with people, word of Cersei's death having spread faster than any proclamation. Men and women craned their necks to glimpse the Lannister men pushing through the crowd, their gold and scarlet cloaks blazing in the sun. Mutters followed them like a murmured prayer. The High Sparrow waited at the top of the wide steps, flanked by his ragged flock. His bare feet were black with city grime. His eyes, bright and mild, watched them approach. Your Grace, he said, inclining his head to Tommen's absence, to the crown that was not there. My lords, we heard the news. Then you know why we're here, Kevin said. The Queen has gone to the gods, the Sparrow said, as we all must in our time, some sooner than we expect. His gaze slid over Jaime, lingering for a heartbeat too long. Jaime felt suddenly exposed, as if the man could see the bruises on his own soul. Her trial is no longer necessary, Kevin said. She answered to a higher court. Her sins remain, the Sparrow said. The gods will weigh them, and the people will gossip about them, Jaime said, unless we give them something else to talk about. The High Sparrow's eyes crinkled. You wish to discuss the Tyrell maid. She is the queen, Kevin said, the only one the realm has now. Tommen needs her. The people love her. The people loved many false idols, the Sparrow said. King Baelor, who starved himself while his realm rotted. Septon Barth, who meddled with books better left closed. Love is no proof of righteousness. Nor is hate, Jaime said. You humiliated Cersei. You made the city mock her. Did it make you feel righteous? The Sparrow's gaze settled on him like a hand. I felt, he said slowly, that a woman who had wielded power without consequence needed to understand consequence. Her sins were great. Her penance was small in comparison. And now she is dead, Jaime said. Was that part of your lesson? No, the Sparrow said simply. I am many things, Ser Jaime, but I am not her murderer. The words struck harder than they should have. Jaime's breath caught. He was suddenly, fiercely grateful for the armor that hid his shaking. The Tyrell girl, Kevin said, impatience edging his tone. We propose, He outlined the deal they had discussed, with careful deference to the faith's authority. Marjorie would confess to the sins she had been accused of, knowing of Loras's proclivities, lying to protect him, failing to speak truth, but she would frame that confession as sorrow, not defiance. She would pledge herself anew to the gods. In return, the faith would release her from their custody, allowing her to return to Tommen's side. The common people would see a humbled queen and a merciful church. A display of harmony, Kevin said. The crown, the faith, and the Reach united in mourning and rebuilding. The sparrow listened, his weathered face unreadable. "It is a tempting vision," he said at last. "Peace, unity, a young king guided by gentle hands." "You don't believe we can have it," Jaime said. "I believe we must go through fire to reach it," the sparrow said. "Not the kind your kin are so fond of." His eyes flicked to Jaime. "The kind that burns away false idols and leaves only the truth." "Truth," Jaime repeated. "Whose?" "The gods," the sparrow said. "I've yet to hear them speak," Jaime said. "Men speak for them, and men are liars." "Including you?" the sparrow asked gently. Jaime's jaw clenched. "Especially me," he said. "Then perhaps it is time you stopped," the sparrow said. "You look burdened, Lord Commander. The weight of your cloak sits uneasily on you." "I sleep well enough," Jaime said. "Do you?" the sparrow asked. "I wonder. You have killed kings and queens, Ser Jaime. You have put swords into those you were sworn to protect. Does it trouble you, I wonder, that the only vows you keep are those that break others?" Behind his calm words was a keen edge. Jaime recognized another sort of sword when he felt it. "Do my sins please you, Septon?" he asked. "Do they give you something to preach about?" "They give me something to pray over," the sparrow said. "I pray for all the lost in this city, for the fallen queen, for the broken king, for the knight who cannot decide what he is." Jaime had had enough. "We did not come here to be bled," he said. "We came to make a bargain. Take it or don't. But hear this, holy man. If you force Tommen to choose between you and those who love him, you may not like which way he leans." The sparrow smiled faintly. "I think he loves you, Ser Jaime," he said, "whether you deserve it or not." Jaime turned on his heel. "Come, uncle," he said. "Let him think on it. He likes thinking." As they descended the steps, Kevin murmured, "You bait him too much." "He baits himself," Jaime said. "If he wants his precious chance to break another queen shivering before him, he can have it. But he will lose the city while he's savoring it." Kevin sighed. "You may be right. You may also have made things harder." Jaime's mouth twisted. "That seems to be my gift of late," he said. That night he dreamed again. He stood on an icy plain under a sky full of stars. The constellation of the crone burned bright, her lantern held high. A wall of black stone rose before him, impossibly tall, its top lost in the dark. A gate opened in that wall. Cold rushed out so intense it burned. Shapes moved in the shadow. Tall, thin figures, pale as moonlight, their eyes blue hollows of light. Between them shuffled a host of darker forms, men or things that had been men. Jaime's sword was in his hand, though he did not remember drawing it. The golden hand felt no colder than the flesh one. "You are late," a voice said beside him. He turned. A man stood at his shoulder, wrapped in furs. His face was obscured, but Jaime thought he saw a beard, dark with frost, and eyes like chips of gray ice. "Who are you?" Jaime asked. "Once they called me the last hero," the man said. "When the dead walked and winter came, I went looking for the children of the forest. I begged for their help. I lost my friends, my horse, my sword. My blood froze. My tears turned to dust. Still I went on." He turned his face. What Jaime had taken for eyes were empty sockets, ice crusted in the hollows. "They call me that still," he said. "Last. But there is always another winter. Always another man who must stand here. Always another choice." He held out something. At first Jaime thought it was a sword. Then he realized it was a hand. A human hand, severed at the wrist, fingers curled. Frost clung to it. "Take it," the last hero said. "I have one," Jaime said, lifting his golden fingers. "That is no hand," the last hero said. "That is a reminder. Await. You cannot fight the cold with gold." Jaime looked down. In his flesh hand, the one that had once held a sword, there was nothing. The dead began to move. Their eyes glowed. Their feet made no sound on the snow. The tall, pale figures did not walk. They glided. "Take it," the last hero said again. "Or wake." Jaime woke with a gasp, sweat chilling on his skin. The room was dark, the only light a sliver of moon through the shutters. His heart hammered. He stared at his hands. One of flesh, one of gold. "Another winter," he whispered. Outside, somewhere far beyond the city's walls, a wolf howled. Jaime sat in the dark until the first gray of dawn crept into the room. He could not go north, not yet, but he could send someone. He could cleanse the city of wildfire. He had begun. He could hold Tommen's hand as the boy learned how to be king without his mother's shadow stretching over him like a dragon's wing. He could try, in all the small, inadequate ways left to him, to be more than the name they spat at his back. Kingslayer, Queenslayer, he would bear those names. There was no escaping them. But somewhere, on a road leading north through snow and silence, Brienne of Tarth rode at his word, her sword ready, her eyes sharp. Somewhere beyond her, Jon Snow stood on a wall of ice, looking at a forest that no longer belonged entirely to the living. "Last hero," Jaime murmured, the words from his dream tasting like old iron. "You'd better not be dead yet." He rose as the light grew. There was work to do.